Excited to do this project on the Pima Indians in Arizona for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I do not personally know anybody with diabetes, so I cannot conduct the interview with a person that I know. And secondly, when I found out that the Pima Indians had the highest rate of type 2 diabetes, I was really interested to learn more about that. The Pima Indians are native people of southern Arizona and northern Mexico. The Pima Indians lived in huts constructed of poles, covered in mud and brush. These homes were called wicket-ups. They hunted and traded and were generally at peace with their neighbors. The women were known for their beautiful woven baskets, and the men were famous for their skills with the bow and arrow. Almost all of Pima people speak English, but many of them still speak their native Pima language. Pima is a complex language with long words. Pima Indians call themselves Akimo Udam, which means river people. The Pima Indians of Arizona have the highest reported prevalence of obesity and non-insulin dependent or type 2 diabetes in the world. The Pima Indians have been studied for a long time. Researchers are certain of one thing. The switch to a high-fat diet common among whites into a sedentary lifestyle is making the Native American group sick at a faster rate than the Americans. Arizona Pimas are sicker and have higher rates of diabetes and kidney disease than the Pimas living in the Sierra Madre in Mexico. Here is a map of southern Arizona and northern Mexico showing where the Pima Indians live. Scientists suspect that the Pima's poor health is due to a combination of genetic factors and environmental changes. Since white settlers had come into the Pimas region more than 100 years ago, their lifestyle has changed. The Pimas now eat higher fat foods, drink more alcohol, and exercise less. About half of the Arizona Pimas who are 40 years old or older have adult-onset diabetes. This is 9 times higher than those for the American population as a whole. The Arizona Pimas are severely overweight. Especially at a young age, Pimas weigh more on average than their counterparts in the rest of the U.S. population, where 1 in 4 Americans is considered obese. In one study, it was found that the Arizona Pimas had an average body mass index above 30. A body mass index above 26 for a woman or 28 for a man means the person is obese. Kidney failure resulting from diabetes is also common for the Pima Indians in Arizona. More than 60% of the Arizona Pimas develop diabetes-related kidney disease. Pima life expectancy is also much lower than the national average of 72 years for men and 78 years for women. Pima men live to be about 53 years old, and Pima women live to be about 63 years old. When the Pima Indians settled into Arizona's Gila River region about 2,000 years ago, they constructed an elaborate irrigation system, converting the dry land into a farming community. They grew corn, bean, squash, and cotton. They supplemented their diet with some game, fish, and plant food. They were lean and active people. By the 1900s, European descendants settled into the area, which diverted into Pima's water supply and disrupted their agricultural lifestyle. Non-natives who lived upstream illegally created dams and rerouted the water from the Salt and Gila rivers, leaving the reservation too dry to sustain vegetation. As a result of this disruption, the Pimas started purchasing food and became sedentary since there was no longer a need for them to work in the fields. The Pimas in Mexico are still living the more traditional lifestyle that the Arizona Pimas led around the turn of the century. It is thought the more traditional lifestyle of the Mexican Pimas helped protect the group against obesity, diabetes, and kidney disease. The Mexican Pimas eat primarily beans, corn and rice, and chicken and meat about once or twice a month. The Arizona Pimas have kept some of the native foods, but they supplement their meals heavily with a more typical Western diet consisting of processed foods that are high in fat and sugar. The traditional diet of Arizona Pimas used to be legumes, mesquite pods, acorns, and prickly pear fruits. The thrifty gene hypothesis is a theory that in the past, populations like the Pima Indians, who struggled with periods of limited resources, have experienced periods of famine, were more likely to survive if they stored calories efficiently. Their survival gave them a genetic advantage. Based on this hypothesis, this at-one-time advantage became detrimental as time elapsed. Since food has become abundant and continually available, the genetic capacity to store calories efficiently in the current environment becomes a risk factor for type 2 diabetes and obesity. Thank you.